Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, this year's Trophy Wine Show has yielded 19 Best in-Class trophies. It was first launched over 20 years ago, but since then, the industry has lost a significant amount of growers. For more on this, we're joined by Michael Fridjhon, a wine expert and columnist. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for your time. Trophy wines have essentially triumphed at the show with some impressive wines coming to the forefront. What did the judges have to look at, and what were they up against as the wines were being compared?
Okay, so firstly, the entire show is judged blind. That is to say, the labels are out of sight. The judges only get glasses in front of them. So there's no influence at all from the label, not from the producer's brand. The judges are asked, obviously, to analyze the wines in front of them and to determine which are the most elegant, the best balanced, the most complex, the most nuanced, those where the wood is best integrated if it's a wooded wine class. In other words, to identify the finest wines in that particular class. And some of the classes have 70 or 80 wines in them, so it's a fairly arduous task. Although, of course, many people would argue that a day spent judging 70 or 80 wines is paradise on earth.
In the midst of the elegance and sophistication, there's the category of fortified wines, which is not fully appreciated in South Africa. Talk to us about that. Why is that?
Well, I think it's a trend that we've seen worldwide. So if you go back 30 to 50 years, the majority of wines produced in South Africa, or a higher percentage of wines, were fortified. That is to say that in the production process, additional alcohol was added to the fermenting or fermented must. And that produced wines like port, like sherry, and like muscadels, which we do very well in South Africa. The market is looking for lower alcohol, fair enough, and a lot of those old-style fortified wines have quite high sugar levels. And yet again, consumers are saying they're not sure that they want to imbibe that much sugar. I have to say that at the right time and place, a fortified wine with cheese or at the end of the meal or in the middle of winter in front of the fire, perfectly good beverage.
The line is not sounding so great, but I'm hoping that we'll push through. When it comes to the state of the South African wine industry, I mean, how much of the challenges were highlighted during the show, especially looking how the industry has essentially lost a significant number of growers?
Well, firstly, the number of growers in the last 30 years pretty much halved. Now, that doesn't mean the number of wineries has decreased by the same amount, but it certainly means that there are fewer suppliers of grapes for the people who want to make wine. And that's a process that I think has been, it's been seen in Bordeaux as well, but it's been particularly tough in South Africa. And it certainly means take COVID as well into account, take the restrictions applied at the time of COVID, and it's been a very hard industry for growers, for producers, for wineries, and it hasn't been that easy for consumers.
And perhaps very lastly, Michael, before we let you go, as we talk about South Africa's wine industry, how much recognition does it have internationally? Because I know that some of the judges that came to judge some of the wines at the show were from outside South Africa.
We have 3 panels working at the show, and every panel has at least one international judge. And this year's judges were world-renowned figures like Jancis Robinson and Krebel and Benjamin Roffet from France. They were real worldwide figures. Their general sort of view on South African wine is that we have improved magnificently and that the stars of wine made in South Africa today compete favorably with fine wines from around the world. And listeners can come to the public tastings of these wines. Johannesburg's on the 14th of June, Cape Town on the 21st of June, and judge for themselves just how fine the efforts are of the Cape wine industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. South Africans, judge for yourself at these public wine tasting stations that will be around the country. Michael Fridjhon, a wine expert and columnist, speaking to the winners of the show and some of the challenges facing the South African wine industry.